John and Ken Show. John Cobell and Ken Shampoo. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Welcome, everybody. Well, we heard from a listener named Jennifer who writes, "We are not all crazy in Culver City. We spoke at the meeting last night." By the way, it was an online meeting. "We presented City Council with a petition of more than 300, growing number of signatures of residents who do not want this. They do not represent the wishes of several residents and refuse to listen or hear us. The meeting was a complete joke. We're trying to still fight this. Can't wait to vote them out." What we're talking about is a proposal by the Culver City Council. Now listen carefully. This is really almost hard to believe. I think we both, John and I, thought it was a parody. They're considering clearing out more than a dozen parking spots under a freeway overpass to give a homeless encampment in the area room to grow.
Right. So the homeless would be allowed permanently to live on the sidewalk, and the public, the pedestrians, would be forced to walk in the street.
What used to be a parking lane would be converted into a pedestrian lane with barriers.
Right. And so they'd have to walk past the homeless encampment.
About 15 parking spaces would be removed.
So all the drug addicts and the psychotic mental patients doing their heroin and meth and defecating and screaming with their all their criminal records, the child molesters, the ex-felons, they'll all be there. Almost like it's like a zoo, I guess. And these people will have to walk in the street. The taxpayers have to walk in the street. The homeless people get the sidewalk.
It would cost about $100,000 to do this.
I don't know who thought of this, and they brought it up at a meeting, a formal proposal that they want to pass in Culver City. I just can't even fathom who would do this.
We're going to bring on the former mayor of Culver City, Jeff Cooper, who's been on our show a few times to talk about the homeless issue.
And spent $100,000 in tax money. $100,000 in tax money for this. Let's get Jeff on. How are you, Jeff?
Peachy King, guys.
What the hell is going on there?
I am so flippin' upset. I mean, a lot of hard work that myself and many of my former colleagues put in to make Culver City a pretty cool place to reside and live and enjoy has been effed up by the majority of this council. And that $100,000 tag you put on there was updated last night by our public works director to $200,000.
What?
It
doubled?
Yeah, bait and switch. Did they pass it?
Yes, it passed. It passed 4-1 on that. So it was passed last night, but There's a lot more work to be done because they need to actually have Caltrans's okay on this to even proceed since it's their underpass underneath there. So it could literally take 2 to 6 months to get this going.
They passed 4-1? I doubt 80% of Culver City wants
one person
this.
Said no to this.
Holy crap! They're crazy. Where these people come from?
It's insane. If you guys are probably aware, this was born out of basically a threat of an ADA violation where a wheelchair-bound resident couldn't pass through because there wasn't any room on the sidewalk. So instead of coming up with the compassionate, humane, and a reasonable solution to try to fix this problem, they came up with this asinine solution that just basically enables these people.
For years, I've wondered about the ADA possibility, making it possible to get rid of homeless encampments, but they actually took the idea and went the opposite way. They're going to make the pedestrians go into the street along with the wheelchairs, and they're going to let the homeless encampment grow.
That's nuts. Who was the council person against this?
The council person against this was Council Member Vera, and the one that actually also voted with it but is against it is Council Member Erickson. And there's a lot of backstory that I can't get into today why he went that way. But when this comes to a budget amendment, because it's going to take a couple $100,000, I feel very assured he will not be supporting it.
So the main supporters are Alex Fish, Daniel Lee, and Yasmin Imani McMorrin.
Correct.
I just am flabbergasted that they would do this. Why don't they move the homeless anywhere else? Give them any abandoned building, empty lot, or just tell them to get out of town. Tell them you go to a rehab center now, or you have to keep moving. You would actually spend $100,000 to $200,000 to reroute the pedestrians underneath an interstate overpass. I can't believe this.
But it's what you got to get is that this takes 2 to 6 months to do this insanity with an ADA violation. Those are $2,000 a day because it's $1,000 that you have to be impeded and $1,000 going back times 30 for each person is $60,000 a day. So if you look at this thing taking 6 months to complete, that's another $360,000 on top of the $200,000. Why not buy these people vans they can live in, and it'll save you a lot of money.
So, is there an active ADA case now in court? Or
there's the threat of an ADA case right now. There's not an active filing that I'm aware of.
So this was to preempt it.
What happens if the homeless take over the parking lane too, the pedestrian lane?
It's beyond rationale how they could arrive with this really just ill-gotten idea.
Well, can you explain to us how this happened, Jeff? Because when we've talked to you before, one of the things that was good about Culver City is that they didn't tolerate what L.A. did. In fact, I think it was Mike Bonin that threatened to sue communities like yours for sending your homeless into our neighborhoods or something like that because you didn't tolerate them.
Well, know that this obviously from a couple of years ago started with the Venice Boulevard underpass where you just saw homeless on the LA side, on the north side, but not on the Culver City side. And that's what that was born out of. But with our council that is in charge now, it's kind of hands off. Our police weren't going over there. They weren't rousting the homeless. They're trained in mental health violation, and they have mental health experts that now accompany them. But with our current council, they are pretty much hands off. Period. They cannot do their job. They cannot.
So the public voted for council members who were going to let it rip and let the homeless run free.
Leave them alone. Yeah.
Culver City was one of the few.
That's
areas.
what remember. Culver City, you're right. You would send out people to constantly talk to the homeless, and eventually they'd go, all right, I'm not going to hang around here anymore, and they'd head over to Bonin's district.
And that was working, and Culver City was much, much cleaner. So actually 4 people got elected who wants to turn the city into a filthy mess?
Really 3. The 3 that you pointed out, and the people just... there's a lot of apathy in our city. People saw that everything was fine. They didn't pay attention. The folks from the ultra-progressive side were very organized. They put a lot of time and effort to it. And this is what we've gotten. They got themselves a lot of folks in the schools that participate. They kind of get new residents thinking that this is a wonderful direction to go in. And here we are at this point.
Oh my God!
Do you think there'll be enough blowback or even a recall out of this, or do you think the resentment isn't strong enough?
There was a recall effort. It fell short, but basically the recall effort got more people that signed the recall than the 3 that we've mentioned got in their election. So there was more votes given to these people.
Wow. Well, Jeff,
this is on Washington Boulevard. Is there any protest? How close is that to a residential neighborhood, or is it all commercial?
Right around the corner. It's right around the corner from it, a block away.
Oh my God! People are going to be they're going to be going insane. Nobody should be allowed to do this.
Yeah, a lot. We've had people last night. People, I can't even let my kids go through there right now.
Oh,
kids want to go to the bike shop that's on Sepulveda. They're not allowing them to do that. We're very compassionate about the homeless.
Oh, this is not compassion. This is destructive.
No. You've got to put your residents. Where is the compassion for residents? And that kind of gets tossed aside by the majority of our electeds on council. And hopefully come November, people will elect some common sense citizens and do the right thing. And one quick plug, I think people that are listening, if you go to commonsenseculvercity.org, there's just facts and information on there that could be really helpful to people.
commonsenseculvercity.org. All right, Jeff, thanks for coming on again.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
That's Jeff Cooper, the former mayor of Culver City. And he is talking to us today about an incredible development in Culver City. They are actually going to take away a parking lane. This is an area of the 405, an underpass at Washington Boulevard, so the homeless can have the whole sidewalk and pedestrians can now use the parking lane with barriers to get by, all because of an ADA lawsuit potential. More coming up.
The taxpayers are pushed into the street so the homeless can live on the sidewalk the taxpayers paid for. John and Ken, KFI, Deborah Mark live in the